Hey guys, and welcome to another One Warrior podcast. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Spent the time with my family and had a good time. It was pretty relaxing. It snowed here, so we didn't do too much, but it was still just a good, nice, relaxing Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys all had a really good Thanksgiving too. We're all safe and healthy. Hope none of you got the new COVID variant. What's it called? Omicron. I'm telling you, these COVID variants, they're starting to name them after like famous things. Like Omicron, isn't that like a transformer or Omicron, however you say it? I'm pretty sure that's a transformer. Like they're naming these variants of COVID off transformers now. Now, if that is not like just crazy, I don't know what is. I'm losing. I don't know what's going on with the world anymore. It's getting to be pretty crazy. So one thing I can control though in this world is fitness and exercise and progress in the gym. It's one of the reasons I love the gym because it's one of the things we can actually control in life. Unlike a lot of things we can't control, but the gym we can kind of control how we program our training and everything. So I think that's one reason why I just loved training is because as messed up as the world is, I can always train. I can always just clear my head, put my head to the weights. 50 pounds will always be 50 pounds. There is nothing that's ever going to detour a weight from being its weight. And I think that's one reason. And I think we can all relate on this, why we can just love training and why we love training. It's because something that we can just turn our mind off and just, even though the world is losing their shit, going crazy, we can just put our mind away and just train. So I thought, first week back with this podcast after a holiday, why not do a Q&A? Because it's been a while since we've done a Q&A. I think it's been like 10 weeks since we've done a Q&A. So I posted on my Instagram yesterday, and if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure and go follow. I'm sure is there a lot of listeners that don't follow me on Instagram. I don't know why that is. My Instagram following is the lowest out of all my social media reach, which is bad because it's the one I post the most on. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go out there, search Fawsey14, Fausey14, or Sean Fawsey, and you'll find me. And make sure and follow because I put up stories, I post things on my stories, I post like content like what we're going to be talking about or topics to choose from to talk about on the podcast and all kinds of things like that. So make sure to stay up to date with me. You're following me on Instagram. That's very, very important. But on this week, I posted up a thing where you could post in your questions, and I wrote them down. And we got quite a bit of questions. I was pretty amazed. A lot came in the first couple hours too. So I'm happy to answer all these too, because some of these are very, very good questions. I mean, all questions are good, but some of these are things I should have touched on in the past, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't. So we go, it's basically all fitness today. I think there might be a couple nutrition questions in there if I had to remember right. Yeah, a couple of nutrition questions, but most of everything today we discuss is going to be fitness. So if you love fitness, you're going to love this podcast. So we're just going to jump right into this. First one is how to combine hypertrophy and strength training. So if you have my book, I really go into how to do this in detail and depth. And also, too, guys, my book right now, I decided to extend the sale for a little bit longer. It's only $28 on Amazon. My $20, it'll get you the full book. There's a program in the back of the book. It's 300 pages. You can't go wrong with this book. It's absolutely a steal at $20. I'm barely making any revenue off this $20 from Amazon, having it published on Amazon. I think I make like $6 a book, $6 or $7 a book is sold with charging it for 20. So I'm not making anything on this. I'm basically giving away the book for free at this point. But yeah, it's on Amazon, $20. Enjoy as everything, 14 years of my knowledge in there. Sorry about that little plug, but I had to get that in there. How to combine hypertrophy and strength training. This is a fantastic question because I love it. This is how I train. I always include a little bit of strength at the beginning of my workout, but the rest is hypertrophy. And I got this from a few different people. Lane Norton, he trains this way. Mike O'Hearn trains this way. Louis Simmons used to train this way when he had the conjugate method going. Conjugate is all based around that. There's a lot of different programs that are based around, keeping a strength movement in the beginning of the workout and the rest hypertrophy. And how I've done it for the longest time is let's just use a chest workout, for example. Now, a chest workout, many people will go to the bench first. And if you like bench press, that's a good time to do it, at the beginning of a workout when you're fresh, because you can use the bench as your strength movement. I personally use incline just because I prefer incline more than I do flat. I just don't like flat bench. It's the one movement where I feel my chest work the least amount. But if you like flat bench, I know a lot of people do, you can start out with this. So for example, a strength hypertrophy workout where you can tackle everything would be you work up to a 1 rep conservative max on bench press. So conservative max, this is what I tell people. Work up to a 1 rep for the day, that's a conservative max. So meaning that it's a 1 rep that's very heavy, but you don't have to get all crazy psyched up. You don't have to have backs people slap your back. You don't have to smell smelling salts. You don't have to have the most epic music playing. You can hit this weight. It's really, really heavy. You only can get one clean rep, but it's not an all-out max. So say, for example, if your PR on bench is, 235, if you get 225 for the day or 220 or even 210, and it was a nice heavy weight, your mind, your central nervous system is woke up for the day, that's your top set. Some people think you need to go all out and make sure it's an all-out failure set. That's personally not how I like to go about it, because what the point of that first working up set is to do, when you work up to a 1 rep for the day, all that is warm up. Okay, even that 1 rep is still warm up. My people that train with me know this. And the first time they started training with me, we were working up to a heavy weight, and they're like, "How many sets of this are we doing?" I'm like, "This is the warm up, guys. We're going to do as many as it takes to get up to a 1 rep conservative max, and then we start the workout." So that's all the warm up, and that main first thing of the day is to get your mindset right, your central nervous system firing. Because when your central nervous system is firing, everything else through the rest of the workout will feel light, and you'll have total control, and you'll feel like a badass. And I described that method, why it works like that, in my book very well. It's very detailed why it works like that, but it doesn't fail. You can do this on a day where you're feeling weak. You can do this on a day where you're feeling really strong. Now, the cool thing about this method is the fact that sometimes you will hit a new PR. Sometimes you'll be in the gym and you'll just want to hit an all-out 100% PR. And that's cool. If you feel like doing that for the day, hit an all-out 100% epic music playing. If you're a fan of smelling salts, I'm not a fan of smelling salts, but if you like them, if you're feeling really good, go for it. That's the perfect time to hit a PR. But the point is, people get discouraged because sometimes when they're working out with me, they'll hit a heavy weight for the week, and then the next week they'll hit 20 pounds less on their top set and be like, "Oh man, I'm getting weaker. I'm not making progress." And that's one of the reasons why I tell people this is a conservative max for the day. It's conservative, meaning that you're not maybe always going to hit this weight. Maybe you're going to hit 20 pounds lighter the next week. You're not always going to feel at your prime when you go into the gym. If you think every time you go into the gym you are going to make a small PR, you've got another thing coming, because that is one of the most flawed ways of logic thinking when it comes to the gym ever. People say, "Oh, I'm weaker than last week. I'm getting weaker. I haven't made progress." That's not true at all. There's a lot of things that contribute to strength. Strength can depend on sleep quality, food, how much sodium you get in a day, how bloated you are. The more bloat you have, the more weight you can lift. There's all kinds of things that contribute to this overall strength. So some days, like I said, you may hit something crazy heavy where you're so impressed with yourself, and it might be a new PR even. But then the next week, you may hit something that is just completely not a PR, like 30 or 40 pounds less. And you might be like, "What the hell? I'm freaking losing muscle." And that's not true. It's just, some days you will hit a heavier weight, some days you won't. Just depends. That's why I say conservative. So how to combine strength and hypertrophy. My program, the way I do this, I work up to a 1 rep conservative. So let's say I was doing bench press. Work up to a 1 rep conservative for the day. Then I would decide how many sets and how many reps I want to do for my heavy work. Am I going to do 5x5? Am I going to do a 5x3? Am I going to do 4 sets of 4? So I pick a number based on how I feel for the day. So yesterday, for example, we did on our heavy work 4 sets of 4. 4 sets of 3 to 4. I like to give myself a range because you're maybe not always going to hit all the reps. I said I wanted 4 sets of 4, but if 3 comes, that's fine. And that's what happened. I did 1 set of 4 and then 3 sets of, the rest of the 3 sets were 3 reps. So I did a 4 and then a 3 and a 3 and a 3. And this is just something you can play with. You can mess around with it. Like I said, you can do 5 sets of 5, 4 sets of 4, 6 sets of 3. Some type of strength, which is when you're training strength, it's usually more sets, less reps. So once we get done with that for the day, say we did a 5 by 5. Let's just say that. Work up to a 1 rep conservative. Then you do your strength work, 5 by 5. You're probably asking, well, what do I do the weight at for a 5 by 5? Well, this is going to depend. Let's say you worked up and you hit 225 as your conservative top. Okay, how did that feel? Did you move it pretty good and pretty clean? Was it really rough? If it was really rough, I would decrease down, and this is where I like to pull out a calculator. I like to go, when I do a 5 by 5 I like to do anywhere between 80% and 85%. So what I'll do is I'll type in the calculator. If I hit 225, I'll do 225 times 0.85. And I'll just do it on a calculator here to make sense of it for you guys, so you guys know. 225 times 0.85, 191. So then I would put on 190 pounds for my 5 by 5 and I would do 5 sets of 5 with 191 pounds. So after that, I do the 5 by 5 then I would move on to the next exercise, hypertrophy work. So maybe I'd do like an incline dumbbell press, and we do in the hypertrophy range, which hypertrophy range is, anywhere from 6 to 12. Maybe 15 too, but not on presses. I wouldn't advise that. Maybe I'd say 6 to 12 reps on these next sets. So 4 sets of 6 to 12. Probably target around 8 to 10 reps. I like ranges because some days you'll feel really good and you'll hit the range, and some days you just won't feel and have as much energy. So when you give yourself a range, you psychologically don't, just kick yourself out of the mindset. So maybe like an incline dumbbell press. 4 sets of 6 to 12, 8 to 12, somewhere in there. Okay, done with that. Maybe then a flat dumbbell fly. That way we can get some heavy flies in. 3 or 4 sets of 8 to 12, something like that. Maybe then a superset with cable fly and a dumbbell pullover. And 3 to 4 sets of that with 8 to 12 reps, and maybe some arms at the end of a workout. Just to, arms can be worked multiple times throughout the week without no problem. That's a typical, strength and hypertrophy workout. You're targeting strength training and you're also targeting hypertrophy. So you're able to get stronger, which is important. Strength equals density in a muscle. Density equals that hardness, thickness. The density is, okay, I'm trying to explain how to explain density. Look at a bodybuilder that looks like he's been training a long time. Say Mike O'Hearn, for example. He lifts very heavy. Okay, he always is doing some type of heavy movement in his training. And if you look at Mike O'Hearn's muscle, it looks like it's grainy. It looks like it's like a piece of steel, basically. Like if you touched it, it would be like steel. That steel look comes from heavy weight. That is density. That is density. That doesn't come from hypertrophy. There's a reason why people who only do hypertrophy work, no heavy work, they may get bigger, but they don't have that dense look. They look like if you touch their muscle, it's just kind of squishy. That dense look comes from heavy lifting. That's the point of strength training. That's one of the main reasons we strength train, because it builds dense muscle, dense, hard, powerful muscle. And then when you top that with hypertrophy training, you get the full package. Maybe not as full as if you were on steroids or something, but you can build an amazing physique using strength and hypertrophy together. And that's how you do it. Basically, you just have a strength aspect in the beginning of your workout, and then you just do hypertrophy movements after that. That's how easy it is. Anybody can do it. And I recommend everybody have some type of strength in their program. It'll make a huge difference on your physique. How many carbs should one eat for best hypertrophy gains? This is going to vary on a lot of factors. This is kind of an open-ended question. It depends on how good your insulin sensitivity is, but depends how lean you are. If you are a smaller guy, very lean, I would recommend trying, start out with 300 grams. 300 grams is a pretty low amount of carbs, to be honest. 300, 400, that's a really good range to start with. Try that. Make sure you're calculating your other macros first. Do 1.25 grams per pound of body weight for protein. Do 0.45 to 0.5 grams of fat per gram of fat for your diet, and then fill the remaining in with carbs. But a good number to start with, is about that 300, 350, 400 grams of carbs if you're super lean. And if you're a very hard gainer and you're, under 20 years old or early 20s even, play around with 500 grams of carbs. That's not a bad thing to do either. Carbs are fuel. Carbs are energy. Carbs produce glycogen, and muscle uses glycogen for fuel. Carbs are a very good thing for a bodybuilder. You can make a lot of progress when you build your tolerance up and your insulin sensitivity up. What are the best unilateral exercises? Good question. Very good question. So I always like to have some unilateral exercises in all my workouts. I don't always like to use barbells or things with where your grip is the same on each one, because you're going to develop imbalances. Maybe one lat will get bigger or one side of the chest will get bigger if you just use barbell all the time. Always make sure you have some unilateral exercises. So a chest workout, chances are you're going to have unilateral exercises. Chances are you're going to do a dumbbell fly or a dumbbell press or a cable fly. That's all unilateral. So chest, you really don't have to worry too much as long as you're not just doing a barbell. When it comes to shoulders, the same thing. Usually you'll do dumbbell presses or dumbbell side laterals. Shoulders, you don't really notice too much of imbalance because everything is basically unilateral. Back, for back days, always include at least one back exercise where you're doing one arm at a time. So if it's a one arm dumbbell row, one arm cable row, one arm pull down, one arm John Meadows leaning barbell lat row, they always include at least one unilateral movement on back day, just to make sure both lats are getting the same stimulus, the same strength aspect to it. When it comes to, let's say, arms, make sure you're doing, at least a few arm exercises that contribute to both one arm at a time. Just be smart about it. Just include things in your workout. Make sure each side is getting a good hit alone and not just doing only barbell stuff. After all your years of learning and doing what you do, what is one thing you would tell someone 19 years old? Ooh, very, very good question. Very good question. Okay, so first thing is, I'm going to say more than one because there's more than one in this. The first thing is, though, patience is everything. Being natural, your physique changes at such a slow pace. So being patient is the parallel importance number one. Patience is everything. Because, like I said, natural athletes change at such a slow pace. They have a reason to train just besides looking better. Because you're going to get to a point where your physique barely changes. After 5 years of training, you will barely make noticeable changes. That's why I say only take pictures every 5 to 8 years. Because you're going to be making very slow progress being natural. Now, there are things you can do in your early ages to help you build more muscle, though. That is eating in a surplus year-round, not doing the cutting and bulking cycles that so many people do. The bulking in the winter, cutting in the summer. When you're young, oh my gosh, when you're young, bulk, perma-bulk. Stay in a bulk just a long-ass time. If you need to do a mini cut, a couple weeks, 3-week cut, fine. Throw those in when you feel you need them. But stay in a long bulk. That is one of the most important things. Stay in a long bulk, because the bigger you can get when you're younger, the more base you're going to have to build on and carve off of when you're older. That is something I made the biggest mistake on. The biggest mistake is I was obsessed with being lean, and I wish I could take it back, but I can't. I'm 30 years old. I have to face the fact that I've already burnt through most of the gains I'm probably ever going to get in my life. But I can help the younger people not make the same mistake I did. Perma-bulk, stay in a bulk, year-round, at least until you're 25. After 25, you can start, doing bulking in the winter, cutting in the summer. But perma-bulk, if you're 18, 17, 18, 15, any under 20 years old, perma-bulk. 21, 22, yeah, you can still perma-bulk. 23, 24, 25. Maybe then start throwing in, the bulking in the winter, cutting in the summer to get a kind of a normal system going where you can then play off of that. But if you're under 20 years old, my goodness gracious, perma-bulk that shit. Make the best out of those years. Eat in a big surplus. Push those calories. Eat a lot of red meat, a lot of whole eggs. Drink a lot of milk. These are basic things, but they can make the world of difference. Also, building strength. When you're young, build strength. This is another thing I did not do trying to do till later on, and I missed so much of the strength aspect because I started strength training 5 years into my training. I started out with just hypertrophy training, and I used all my beginner gains on the hypertrophy, and I lost out on all the strength gains that I could have made early on in my days. Make sure you're including some strength aspects, bench press, squats, deadlifts if you got a healthy back. Very fantastic movements. Compound movements. Make the use out of those, joints when they're young, when you can handle more weight, when you have more energy. Really make use out of your youth. That is just the main thing I have to say to anybody that is young. Have patience. Have a why that is more than looking better, something that will keep you coming back to the gym after those 3 to 5 years, because after those 3 to 5 years, you're probably not going to notice increases or improvements in muscle. So if you're just training for looks, that is when people fall off because they stop noticing differences. They think, oh, I'm not getting sore no more either. I'm not making any progress. What's the point of even doing this anymore? Have a reason to train besides just looking better. Find love in the gym. Find love for lifting weights and just love for doing it, because that will keep you doing this year after year after year after year. And that's honestly the question. That's honestly what I would tell somebody under 19 or 19 years or old or younger, somewhere in there. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Explain hypertrophy as well as training for strength. So I think I already went into this with the first question, but explain hypertrophy as well for strength. So strength training, you're always going to be lifting in that 1 to 5 rep range. After 5 reps, you just can't target strength anymore. I mean, you can probably push strength to 6 to 7 reps, but when you're going to 8 reps, you can obviously get stronger with movements at 8 reps. You can always get stronger. Don't think oh, I'm doing 10 reps. I'm no longer worried about strength. No, you should always be trying to progress in weight. But for the strength aspect of a workout, rep schemes, 1 to 5 reps. That's a good way to go about it. 1 to 5 reps. That's, maybe you're doing 5 sets of 5, 4 sets of 4, 3 sets of 3, or maybe 5 sets of 3. When you're doing strength training, you want your volume number to accumulate somewhere over 10 reps, but not more than 30. So what do I mean by that? 5 times 5, a 5 by 5 is 25 reps. That's strength. That's under 30 reps, but it's 25 reps at something 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max. That is strength. 5 sets of 4 is 20 reps. That would also work. 4 sets of 4 is 16. That would also work. 3 sets of 3, that's 9. You could use that, but I maybe would use that more maybe on tapering for a powerlifting meet. 3 sets of 3 is, not the best number you could hit for strength. Like I said, at least more than 10 reps total. So 3 sets of 3, it's all right. Could you do 4 sets of 3 would probably be better than 3 sets of 3. When we're talking about 2s, 5 sets of 2 is 10 reps. That's not bad. I'd prefer those 6 sets of 2. 6 sets of 2 would be better because, a little bit more reps, a little bit more training in that strength range. But like I said, strength, it's just going to depend. Lower reps is for strength, usually speaking, and hypertrophy is just, doing more hypertrophy work. The muscle will grow anyway. It's so much more than just putting labels on things. I hate it when people say, oh, I'm just strength training. Oh, I'm just hypertrophy training. Here's something you have to remember too. The muscle does not know what you're doing. The muscle doesn't know if you're doing a bench press or an incline press. The muscle just knows what part is working. Now, when you're talking about strength, though, you're talking from all of a sudden now you're talking about from just size training to getting better at a number, getting better at lifting a number. Because strength is all about skill. Training for size is not about skill. There's no skill for training for size. Doing tons of volume, you'll build size. There's no skill to that. Strength is a skill, though. That's another difference between hypertrophy and strength. When you're training for strength, it's a skill. Everything has to be perfect when training for strength. Hypertrophy, not so much. You can do some cheat reps. You can do some force negatives. You can do basically anything with hypertrophy training, and it will work for growth. The same can't be said for strength, though. Strength has to be kind of a little bit more systematic. How can I work on losing steroid weight? So, okay, so when you get on steroids, a lot of people, when they get off of it or whatnot, they mess up. When you get on steroids, you mess with your hormonal system. And whenever you mess with your hormonal system, bad things usually happen. It's never a good thing to mess with your hormonal system. What I would do though, if I was in that place, if I had taken steroids and I was at a point where I could not lose the extra weight I had put on from steroids, I would get on TRT at that point. Because with getting on steroids, you've already messed up your hormonal system. It's messed up for life. People say, oh, you get off steroids, your hormonals go back to normal. No, that's not true. They never go back 100% normal. That's why when I tell people, before you make the decision to get on steroids, realize that you're messing up your hormonal system that God gave you, that God wrote into you, and you're messing that up for life. Maybe you'll somewhat be able to get back to normal, but you're always never going to be normal again the way God created you. That's why I say it's a huge decision if you decide to get on steroids. Now, if you come off steroids, you have to know that there's going to be added weight gain that comes on with that. Usually, insulin sensitivity is lower too. You'll put on fat more easily. What I recommend for that is getting on TRT, going to a good hormone specialist doctor and getting on testosterone replacement therapy. And yes, you're going to probably have to be on that for life. But that's the only way you can really, because what happened is you messed up your hormonal system. You tinkered with things you were not supposed to tinker with. Weight came on, and now you're at a point where your body's not producing the normal testosterone anymore. It's not getting the steroids anymore. So it doesn't really know what to do. It's basically in a messed up state. I would get on TRT if I was this person. TRT would help a lot. It would help because it would get your testosterone back up. The only bad thing to that, though, is you're going to be on it for life. So if it's not in the budget, if your health insurance doesn't cover it, I don't know what to tell you then. TRT is the best recommendation I can give for somebody struggling with weight that they cannot lose that was from steroid use. How would I structure a push-pull leg split and train 5 days a week? Good question. I used to use push-pull legs or a variation to that back in the day. It was a very good split. What I liked about it was you could really specialize strength with it. It was a little bit harder to target hypertrophy though, just because, on a push day, you'd only have a certain amount of time to do enough shoulders. That's why I like having an actual shoulder day, so I can just blast shoulders. On a push day, you do your incline press, or your chest, some type of chest press, some flies. By the time you get to shoulders, you're already kind of shot, and you just can't get in as much volume. So there's it's a double-edged sword. There's benefits to the getting on that, something like that, and there's benefits to just training single muscle groups. But if I was to do a push-pull leg split and only train 5 days a week, how I would do it is I would do Monday would be a push day, Tuesday would be a leg day, Wednesday would be a pull day, Thursday would be a push day, and then Friday would be a pull day. So you're training legs one time a week. Most people can get away with one leg day a week. If you're really trying to progress on your squat, 2 days a week is good. If you're powerlifting, 3 squat days. When I used to powerlift, I squatted 3 times a week. But for most people with just trying to gain muscle and strength together, one leg day is plenty. Honestly speaking, I know people say you got to train every muscle 2 times a week. Maybe not. It's up to you. But if you're training 5 days a week, a good way to go about it. Push day would be, chest, shoulders, and triceps on Monday, Tuesday legs, Wednesday a pull day, which would be back, biceps, traps, that kind of stuff. Thursday would be a push day again, chest, shoulders, and tries. And then Friday would be another pull day, back and bis, if you wanted to do that. Oh, or another type of way you could do it is Monday would be an upper body day, Tuesday would be a lower body day, and then Wednesday would be a push day, Thursday would be a leg day, and Friday would be a pull day. So in that split, you're working legs 2 times a week. You're hitting everything twice a week because you're doing upper, lower, push, legs, pull. You notice how I mixed up the order there. Upper, lower instead of push, pull, legs, because otherwise there's not enough overlap between your upper day and your push day. So on that one, you'd do upper Mondays, Tuesday would be lower, Wednesday would be a push day, Thursday would be a leg day, and then Friday would be a pull day. And you could also do that as a strength hypertrophy setup too. So it'd be like Monday upper strength day, Tuesday lower strength day, the Wednesday hypertrophy push day, Thursday hypertrophy leg day, and Friday hypertrophy pull day. You could do it like that too. A lot of different ways you can go about it. 5 days a week is a really good amount of days you can train and get a lot of volume in, a lot of frequency in, a lot of intensity in, and make a lot of progress. What body fat should I allow on a bulk? Or what body fat percentage should I allow on a bulk? For men should never probably get over 18% body fat on a bulk. 18 to 20%, you're kind of getting to a point where you probably should do a mini cut. Not because maybe you're getting super fat, but just because your insulin sensitivity is going lower. Because remember, the longer you stay in a bulk, the lower your insulin sensitivity is going to go. So that's why you do a mini cut or a cut, and it will boost your insulin sensitivity back up, and you go back into a surplus. Younger people, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, when you're that age, your insulin sensitivity is a lot better. That's why I say you can perma-bulk, do a year-long bulk or 2-year-long bulk without having much disadvantage to that because of the reason your insulin sensitivity is better. But some numbers you probably should stick to is not allowing body fat percentage to go over 18, 19%. If you're going over 20%, like I said, you should definitely probably cut down again. But up to 17%, honestly speaking, men can push it up to 17%. Women on a bulk, this is going to be very dependent on your goals, how thick you're trying to get. Women, they can allow 25, 26% body fat on a bulk before honestly having to cut, just because women have more body fat in general. That's something that they just deal with more easier than men. Men have a lower percentage of body fat. Women need more too for proper hormonal function and everything. If body fat gets too low on a woman, your hormonals get screwed up. You have problems with your period and all kinds of stuff like that. That's a bad thing to get into. But men, we can get our body fat as low as 5% before we start really noticing bad defects in our hormonal system and our testosterone starts to drop. Around that 5, 6, 7%, under that, that's when problems start to arise in men. For women, though, if women, I don't even think women could be alive at that point. Women, honestly, they should, for a healthy woman, her body fat should be around 11, 12, 13. That's being lean, 11, 12, 13 being lean for a woman. And on a bulk, around 20%, 21, 22. But for men, on a bulk, try to keep it under 18%. I've gone as much as 17% on a bulk. And by the time I get to 17%, my appetite sucks. I just feel like I want to cut. I'm just too heavy. I don't feel as athletic. So for me, when I get to 17%, or if I allow that to happen, nowadays I don't allow that to happen. I keep my body fat mainly around 11 to maybe at the max 13%. I don't like to go over 13% nowadays just because of my age. But when you're younger, you can push that 17, 18% body fat on a bulk. Just try not to let it go over 20. If it's going over 20, I'd go back into a cut. How often should I change up my program? As often as you feel you need to. We were talking about this the other day. We were out bowling, and I had the question very similar to this, actually. And I brought up the fact that Ronnie Coleman, for example, his first 5 years of training, he did exactly everything the same. Every single workout he did is the same. The same chest workout every week, the same shoulder workout every week, the same leg workout every week. He didn't mix it up at all. Those first, 5 to 8 years that Ronnie trained. And he built an amazing physique. So those people that think, oh, I did this program for 6 months. Now it's time to change it up. No, you don't have to. You can totally do the same thing. Find a program, a way to train that you just feel, that you like doing. Something that you can just automatically fall into. Like for the split that I'm using right now, I've been using for, let's see here, 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, I switched to my split that I'm currently using, which is Monday chest, Tuesday legs, Wednesday shoulders, and a little bit arms. Thursday back day, Friday arm day. I switched to that split 5 years ago, and I'm still doing it. Different exercises every day, obviously. I mean, I like to mix things up exercise selection wise just to keep it interesting. But I'm still doing the same program I've done for 5 years now, and I'm still noticing more improvements I'm making. I mean, I like it too. It's something I can easily do. It's not very taxing. It's very easy to program. There's not much thought process into it. Like Monday is a chest day. Okay, cool. Not much thought process into that. It's a lot easier than saying, oh, Monday is a push day. I have to structure out how I'm going to do a press, a fly, shoulders. Like that's just a lot more thinking to it. Maybe you like that though. Maybe you like the push-pull leg split. Maybe you like the chest and back, shoulders and arms type of split. It doesn't really matter. Just whatever you can easily gravitate toward. Do something that you can do just naturally. Make whatever your program should be. It should feel like brushing your teeth. Going to brush your teeth for the night? Okay. Going to the gym for the day? Okay. Should have the same type of mentality, the same type of feeling toward it. You only need to change up your program when you want to. You can do the same program forever if you wanted to. What condiments are best in a diet? Ooh, okay. For me, when I diet, I love, well, I mean, for all year round. All year round, I use mustard, hot sauce, salsa. Honestly speaking, not much changes. In a diet, I don't do much different. I just eat less food. I use the same condiments year round. Mustard, salsa, hot sauce, mayonnaise. Honestly, you can fit any type of anything into your diet. People think, oh, I'd want a diet. I can't have mayonnaise or higher fat things like ranch. You can do that. You can completely do that. It just depends on how many calories you have. Just you can fit in whatever you want to in a diet. You may be thinking like, oh, I can't have ketchup. I'm on a diet. Yeah, you can. Just factor in the extra carbs from the ketchup. You just make sure you're counting the condiments that have calories in them. That's all. You don't need to limit yourself just because you're on a diet. I eat the same foods when I'm on a diet, just less of them. How to fix elbow pain. Ooh, this is kind of funny because I'm dealing with some elbow pain at the moment. Elbow pain for me right now is on my underarm, behind my forearm, on my underarm, right on the bottom of my elbow. I've been having this pain for a while now, a couple weeks at least. But what I found helped, and what I tell people with elbow pain is usually it's not the elbow that's causing the pain. It's the muscles around that. So it's either the forearms tight, the biceps tight, the shoulders tight, or even the chest is tight. I have eliminated previous elbow pain in my life just by making sure my chest is stretched out. My left shoulder is my bad shoulder. It's the one I messed up many times in my life. And that's one muscle, and that's one area that just gets really tight on me. So if I don't stretch that out a lot, my left shoulder, my left chest insertion, I will definitely notice a ton of different types of pains, from my elbow pain to shoulder pain or any type of pain like that. For me, it comes from a tight chest. So what I recommend and what I found that helps is doorway stretches. Putting your elbow and your arm in a 90 degrees and pushing on that door and stretching the chest, you'll notice how the elbow pain starts to magically go away. So when you have pain, don't look at where the pain is. Like this goes for if you have knee pain too. If you have knee pain, look at how tight your quad is. Look at how tight your hip flexors are. Because chances are the reason you are having pain is because the muscles around that area are pulling, because they're so tight that they're pulling things out of place around that joint, causing joint pain. When you loosen up the muscle though, and when you target like say a hip flexor for knee pain, when you loosen that up, the knee automatically starts to get better because there's less tightness around the knee. There's less tightness in the quad. There's less tightness in the hip flexor. So when you fix the tightness, you can usually fix the pain. That's just something to think about when you have any type of pain with anything. If your calves are sore, look at your hamstrings. How tight are your hamstrings? Are your hamstrings pulling so tight that they're pulling the calf up higher than it should be and it's causing calf pain? Or ankle inflexibility, your ankle flexibility is all messed up. Maybe that's hamstring, goes back to the hamstring. Don't just think because you have pain at a joint that it's around the joint that's causing the pain. It's probably a muscle or something that pulls on that joint is what's causing the pain. Why does the body actually add fat? Well, this is just an evolution answer. God made us so that we could go long periods of time without food. And the body is adaptable. So meaning that when the body is in a time when it's not being fed and when it's not being constantly not constantly having nutrition, the body will use fat stores for that. So say times of famine or whatnot, times of where you're fasting. Say, for example, if you decided to do a survival show, on those survival shows, when you go out in the wilderness and you are very limited on your calories, why is it the people that are super lean are the ones that have to back out of the challenge? They usually leave the challenge because they're so lean, they're constantly hungry, they have no fat reserves, and their body has no fat reserves to eat off of in that famine time. So the body, why does the body actually add fat? It's because it gets so much food that it wants to save some for later, basically. That's basically what it is. We hate it as bodybuilders because, fat is not attractive. But it's for a safety reason, basically. Your body, if you eat in a calorie surplus for a long enough time, and it's more calories than what you're burning for the day, your body will pull some of that and add to fat cells because, a little bit of extra calories here, we'll store this for a time of famine. Your body is, yes, we have adapted to the lifestyles we have nowadays, but it's still the same as it was, thousands of years ago where, you had to hunt for your food. The body is still the same as it ever was. It's designed to feast. It's designed to go long periods of time without food by tapping into fat reserves. It's basically an evolution safety print that God made us that naturally that we fall back onto when we are in times of famine and whatnot. Now, obviously we have the refrigerator at our disposal. I can go right now and make a sandwich. But the body, it's still trained evolutionary wise to hunt, gather food, feast, fast. That will never change. That's just how God designed us. We just as humans screwed that up by making things like refrigerators, being able to preserve food. And yes, it made our life easier, but at the same time, that's why we have gotten fatter as humanity as we have aged and everything, just because humanity is not designed to be the way we actually live life. What's your opinion on German volume training? So those of you that don't know, German volume training is doing 10 sets of 10. 10 sets of 10 German volume training, I like it occasionally. Like, say, for example, I'm at a time in my training where I'm just nothing is feeling right, feeling off, can't get motivated to train. Doing 10 sets of 10 will get me back in that grind again to get back at it. It's kind of something I use when I'm in a rut. When my training is just going the same, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels, I'll throw in a German volume training day just to kind of mix it up, or an 8 sets of 8 day. Doesn't always have to be 10 sets of 10. It could be 8 sets of 8, 6 sets of 6, something like that. 7 sets of 7, or 8, or doing something like that. Basically just very high volume. But I'll use it occasionally. It's a tool in the tool belt to pull out occasionally. It's not something I want my body adapted to all the time, though, because what have I said in the past? Volume has to go up for you to make progress. So if you get adapted to German volume training, you're going to have to do more sets and more reps and all kinds of shit to be able to make progress then, if your body adapts to that. Occasionally, though, it can be fun. It can be used too, like on holiday weeks. It's fun on holiday weeks where you're going to be overeating a lot of food to do some German volume training. Can I describe how I would structure a deload on squats using a 5x5 training style? Yeah, this is a fantastic question. I love this. So if you have my book, I describe many ways of different deload methods. I think I give 6 different ways in my book to deload. But I'll give you an easy one today that it doesn't take much memorization. Okay, so you're training 5x5 style for squats. You're trying to get stronger at that. So the first week you would do a 5x5 at 80% to 82%, depending on how good you feel. So if you feel really good, do a 5x5 around 82% of your 1 rep max, okay? The second week, you would do a 5 sets of 4 at 85 to 87%. Somewhere in there. If you're feeling really good, try to get 87% for 5 sets of 4. And like I said, that's of your 1 rep max. So when you're training for powerlifting, you're programming things out, programmed upon your 1 rep max. The third week, you would do 5 sets of 3. around 87 to 89, maybe 88 instead, 87 to 88%. 89 is getting up there. So 5 sets of 3 around, that 87 to 89%. And then fourth week, you would do 5 sets of 2 around 90%, 90% to 92% if you're feeling really, really good. The fifth week, you would do 5 sets of 1 at 95%, all the way to maybe 96%. Or if you were feeling really good, 97%, but you're really pushing levels there at that point. And then the sixth week, you would deload by doing 3 sets of 5 at 70%. Now, yes, that 70% will feel super light. You'll breeze through it. That's the point. Because the seventh week is your test day, the test day where you work up to a brand new 1 rep max. That's how I would structure it in a 5x5. Once again, I'll say that, I'll repeat just so you guys can write this down. First week, I would do a 5x5 around 80%. Second week, I would do a 5 sets of 4 around 85%. Third week, I would do 5 sets of 3 at 87%. Fourth week, I would do 5 sets of 2 at 90%. Fifth week, I would do 5 sets of 1 at 95%. And then sixth week, I would do 3 sets of 5 at 70%, deload. And then the seventh week, I would test, try to get a new 1 rep max. That's a really easy way to go about the 5x5 when you're trying to program in a deload, taper, and a test day all in one. So in 7 weeks, basically, you can get a new 1 rep max. You mentioned last week how women have more endurance than men, but they should train like men. Can you explain that a bit more? Yeah. So women, they have more endurance. They can last longer. They don't need as much rest time between sets. So say if they're doing squats, men need a good 3 to 5 minutes between sets of squats to be able to honestly give it their all. Women can, I've seen women have plenty of rest time with 2 minutes. They're ready to go at 2 minutes. I'm still trying to catch my breath at 2 minutes. But I've seen women that can, rest 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and be back at it again. Obviously, this is going to depend on, how heavy they're going and whatnot, how heavy they're lifting. But generally speaking, they can go less rest time. So what I mean they should train like men, though, they should still have the same type of programming. Like, for example, the program in my book, The Warrior Power System, how I describe in the book, that works for all genders, men and women. Either one. You can do this Warrior Power System. I recommend women train just like men. They do the same exercises. They try to lift heavy. They try to lift, do some strength work. They try to do hypertrophy work. Lift the same way that a man would, but you can modify your training so you can maybe work out a few more days a week. Women, they like usually training 5-6 days a week. Most men train 4 to 5 days a week. That's just going to depend, though. Rest time between sets, they need less rest time. This is things you can modify in the program, but the actual exercise selection, the actual reps and sets, that all should be the same. Train like a man. That should all be the same thing. Just modify it to where you, having better endurance, being a woman and whatnot, you can do maybe a little bit more volume, maybe train things more frequently, and use less rest time. That's what I meant by that. What is my mobility routine before a squat workout? I keep it very simple. I do 10 minutes on a bike to warm my hips up, to warm my knees up, to warm my hamstrings, quads. Just 10 minutes on a bike. Steady pace, a nice resistance, not too hard, not too heavy. Just a nice resistance, a nice pace, just to get everything going. After that, I'll do leg swings, forward, back, side to side. Then I'll do a groin opening stretch, but I won't do it won't be a static stretch really. It'll just be kind of, it's not necessarily bouncing, but opening up the hips, going from side to side, getting my ankle mobility. Maybe I'll do some calf stretches, and then maybe I'll put the bar on my back and then just sit in a squat position with the bar on my back for a minute or whatnot, just to kind of get my hips open, ready to squat. And I'll get right to it. I'll start building up for the day to a 1 rep. That's literally my mobility routine for a squat workout. Maybe a 2, I'll hang from a barbell if my back is giving me problems. I have I have 2 herniated discs in my spine that I deal with. So I have to kind of make sure those discs are in place before I get squatting. So to do that, I hang a lot. I hang a lot before any workout. Shoulders, back, hanging from a bar kind of just helps me get my spine into place for the day. Making sure your shoulders are not tight, your chest is not tight so you can get under the bar. Just depends on the day too. But like I said, that's going to depend on the person. Do the least amount of stuff you have to do, though, to get ready to squat. You'll warm up through the motion. That's the main thing. I've been at maintenance calories and I'm gaining weight. Why is this? You're not at maintenance then. You just answered your own question. If you're gaining weight, okay, people think that maintenance calories is a set number. They think, oh, my maintenance is 3,500 calories. Exactly. No, it does not work like that. For instance, your maintenance is always changing. Say, for example, you just are more active some days than other days. Say, for example, you decide to take a walk in the middle of the day and your friends invite you out and you just walk more. Your maintenance is now going to be more for that day because the fact that you just did more effort. You did more things during the day. If you're sitting at a desk all day and it's the same every day after day after day, yeah, you'll build up a maintenance tolerance, but the maintenance is always changing. When I tell people or ask people what their maintenance is, it's usually a range I'm looking for. I'm not looking for them to say, oh, it's 3,500. For me, my maintenance is anywhere from 2,900 to 3,200 calories. That's my maintenance range. I usually will stay the same weight if I'm within 2,900 to 3,200 calories, depending on my lifestyle. The lifestyle that I'm currently doing right now, around 3,000 is my maintenance. If I had to guess, it's somewhere around that level. But it's always a range. It's not a set number. So before this person, they said they have been at maintenance calories and they're gaining weight. Chances are what happened in your life is something changed. You are doing less activity than usual outside of your training. Not talking about the gym. Your gym workouts may be the same. What I'm talking about is maybe you got a different job. Maybe you're sitting at a desk more. You're not doing as many walks during the day. So what happened? Your maintenance lowered. So you are thinking your maintenance is a set number and you're gaining weight when your maintenance is actually now lower. What happened? So what should you do at this point? Lower your calories. Drop your calories a good 300 calories, depending on your goal, but I'd start with 300 and see if you can start losing weight again. It's as easy as that. When you stop losing weight, when you're trying to lose weight, you lower your calories more. And this is why it's very important to have a good metabolism, because what happens when you get to 1,200 calories in your maintenance and you build a maintenance to that? Well, now you have to go to 1,100 calories, and then you have to go to 1,000 calories. How do you build up your calories over time, though? You might be saying, oh, my metabolism, my maintenance is 1,000 calories. If I eat more than 1,000, I gain weight. This is something that you have to build up then over time. So, for example, if your metabolism is in a point where you're maintaining on 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, you have to take a break from dieting and boost your metabolism. How do you do that? It's called reverse dieting. Reverse dieting, that term was taken, Lane Norton came up with the term, but it works. Reverse dieting is basically adding in 5 to 10 grams of carbs and 5 grams of fat every 2 weeks when you're stuck at a point like that, and build your calories back up. What happens is your metabolism will catch up and build up with that. So I have taken clients in the past that were maintaining on 1,200 and they wanted to keep dieting. I said, time out. We're going to take a break from dieting here. We got to get your metabolism healthy again. So I took this person and we started adding calories in when they had to lose weight. Okay, their goal was to lose weight. So I decided to start adding calories in to boost their metabolism. So I gave them every week, I said, add 5 grams of carbs and 2 grams of fat to your diet every week. And this person did that. And in 2 months, or maybe it was 3 months, 2 or 3 months, they were at around 2,000 calories. So they had built their calories back from 1,200 to 2,000. And get this, they were maintaining. They didn't add any extra fat through that reverse diet. Maybe a little bit. You're always going to add a little bit of fat anytime you're upping your calories. But it wasn't very noticeable in the pictures they kept sending me. I was amazed. I took their calories from 1,200 to 2,000. So now they're maintaining at 2,000 calories. So I told them, okay, well, now we can diet. We have a base now. We have 2,000 calories. So now I want you to drop down to 1,700. And what happened? They started to lean out drastically quick because they built their metabolism up. So now they were dieting on 1,700 calories. They had more energy throughout the day. They had higher sex drive. They had higher testosterone, and they were losing weight. Isn't that amazing? Yes, you can repair a metabolism that, I don't like the word damaged. Your metabolism is never damaged. Your metabolism is your life force, literally. So you're saying something is damaged, saying your life force is damaged, is saying God made a mistake on you, and that's not the case. What happens is your metabolism slowed down, though. And if you take time to build that metabolism up by slowly adding calories in, build your metabolism back up to a good, respectable number, then you have something to cut from again. And we got that person down and got them losing weight again, too, after we built their metabolism up. And what we did with this person, too, we had them diet at that level, 1,700 calories. We had them stuck there for like 2 months, and they got where they wanted to hit. They actually hit their weight goal on that. We maybe dropped it to 1,500. We did drop it to 1,500 at the end to try to get them to push out and try to, finish out their weight loss a little to the point they wanted. But right now, that person is actually balking on 2,300 calories, and they have a much healthier metabolism. But we built up to that. That's why when I tell people, when you lean down really lean and you get your calories super low, don't go right back into a crazy high surplus. Build that up slowly. Now, am I saying you have to add 5 grams of carbs and 2 grams of fat a week? No. If you got a healthy metabolism, you can add 10 grams of carbs, 15 grams of carbs a week, and maybe 5 grams of fat a week, and build your metabolism up like that. How fast and how much you increase those calories is going to depend on how good your metabolism already is. If you have a slower metabolism, add calories at a slower pace. Allow your body to build up to that. Allow your body to digest. Allow your metabolism to adjust to those new calories. But that's just going to depend on the person and how good your insulin sensitivity is, how good your metabolism is, and all of that. But the point is, on this question, I want you to realize is if your calories are too low, you have nothing to pull from. If you're at 1,000 calories, what do you have to do? You have to go to 700 calories to lose weight. That ain't healthy. Living on 700 calories, that ain't healthy at all. What I recommend you do is if you're at a level where with low calories, if you're under 1,500 calories and you cannot lose weight, you need to reverse diet first before going back into a cut. Build those calories up and then diet back down. I guarantee you'll have much better results. But understand, maintenance is always going to change. In your book, you mentioned you like to work up to a top set for the day on presses. How do you do that? What's the rep scheme on the build-up? So, for example, let's say I was doing incline barbell press. I would do the bar for a couple sets of just, not even counting reps, just doing the bar, just making sure everything's feeling good for the day, analyzing my body, feeling how just everything is feeling. Then I would go maybe to 95 pounds, do like 3 reps. If that felt good, I would go to 115 for maybe 2 reps. Then once I got to a plate, I would do 1 rep, a plate and a 10, 1 rep, plate 2 10s, 1 rep. And depending on how good I feel, I'd keep going up by about, 10, 20 pounds every jump and just do 1 rep. Because remember, the buildup is a warm-up. So don't be doing, say your max on incline is 185. Don't do 165 for 3 reps. Do 1 rep. 1 rep. Do 1 rep all the way up, and once you get feeling warm for the day. So, like I said, you do the bar, get warm with the bar, do 95 pounds. How that feels for the day, maybe 3 reps. Basically, you just do feel sets. When it feels good, you stop. But usually for me, when I get to a plate, I do singles all the way up after I get to a plate to save my shoulder, to save energy, to save everything. Because the point of the warm up, the point of building up is to use the least amount of effort and get up to your top set. So meaning that using the least amount of energy while still firing up your central nervous system to go for the day. That is the main point of building up. That's what I talk about in my book when I talk about building up so your central nervous system is warmed up for the day and fired up for the day. It doesn't mean necessarily making sure you have a pump or making sure you're repping out everything and tiring yourself out. That is not the point of the buildup. The buildup is getting your mind ready, your brain, the central nervous system. Once that's fired up, then we get to the working sets, the 5x5, the 4 sets of 4, the 5 sets of 3, whatever number I want to pick for the day. That's when we do our working sets then, when our mind is fired up. That's when the workout begins. We don't want to tire ourselves out before we get to the workout. That just would be pointless. And that's the last question, guys. So we're at like an hour on this podcast. Perfect. I didn't want this to be a 2-hour long question and answer. We'll start to do these more often, though, because I know you guys like these. This is probably these Q&A sessions are literally my most viewed or most listened to podcast, I think, from my demographics. So we'll try to do these more often. You can always post up questions in my Instagram and whatnot, and I'll write them down for future episodes. But till next week, guys, we'll see you then. Stay strong, stay healthy, and take care. Stay away from that new COVID variant.